Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something pretty provocative.
Definitely.
Could AI in music actually, kill the music industry as we know it?
It's a big question people are asking.
Yeah, and your first reaction might be panic, right? Like, is this the end of music?
Mm-hmm.
But what if, and this is the twist, what if the end of the industry could actually be good for music itself?
That's the angle we're exploring. You're here for those quick insights, the aha moments, without getting totally bogged down.
Right.
So think of this as getting you up to speed on a complex thing, but from maybe an unexpected viewpoint. We've looked at various articles, studies, basically how music's made, consumed, how tech fits in.
And the mission.
To pull out the key ideas, really dig into this argument for, a positive collapse.
Okay, let's dive in. The core argument isn't that music vanishes. Not at all.
Quite the opposite, potentially.
The idea from these sources is that for maybe 25 years, the industry's been so obsessed with quantity, just churning stuff out, that it's actually damaged our taste, what we think is good music.
And the reason behind that is pretty interesting. It suggests as this constant flood. A lot of it maybe not top-tier quality.
Right, yeah.
Has sort of trained our ears, especially younger folks, to accept, less, to have less discerning taste.
One source even calls some of it organized noise. Pretty blunt.
It is blunt. And they don't mince words about why this happened.
No, they point directly at the industry, saying it's driven by greed, incompetence.
Laziness, even.
Yeah, and laziness. The claim is stark. The industry is rotten at the core.
Which leads to that central idea that the death of this specific system, this industry structure, doesn't spell doom for music. It could actually, the argument goes, let music truly flourish.
Okay, so let's look at the evidence behind this idea of massive growth, but maybe declining quality. The sheer volume is hard to wrap your head around.
It really is.
Q1 2023 figures, 120,000 new tracks every single day.
What? Every day?
Every day. That's 10 million tracks in just 3 months. The forecast for the whole year was something like 43 million.
I mean, how do you even process that? As a listener, how do you possibly find the gems in that kind of avalanche?
Exactly. The sources say this oversupply basically pushes us towards algorithmic playlists, right?
Yeah, because you can't sift through it manually. And algorithms, they're useful, but they often just show you more of what you already like or what's popular.
Kind of an echo chamber.
Pretty much. You get less exposure to genuinely different or groundbreaking stuff.
And it's not just about the amount. There's data suggesting, a drop in artistic complexity.
Okay, tell me about that.
A Queen Mary University study looked at Billboard top 5 hits from 1950 to 2023.
Long time frame.
Yeah. And they found apparently a 30% decline in melodic complexity. Fewer different notes, less rhythmic nuance.
30%, that's significant.
It is.
Yeah.
And other analyses using algorithms seem to back this up. They find modern pop melodies are often simpler, more repetitive than older stuff.
Which might suggest, that maybe simpler tunes are easier to make into hits now. More digestible, maybe?
Perhaps. But maybe less rich musically over time.
Right.
And then there's the actual sound, the production. This whole loudness war thing.
Ah, yes, I've heard about this. Making everything louder.
Essentially, yeah. They compress the dynamic range, the difference between the quietest and loudest bits.
Okay.
Sources say it's been shrinking by about a decibel every 8 years since the late 2000s.
And the effect is?
Music that's just constantly loud. It can be, fatiguing to listen to. You lose that emotional impact you get from quiet and loud moments playing off each other.
So we've got this picture. Overwhelming quantity, maybe simpler melodies, and this kind of flat, loud sound.
Exactly. And the argument connects this directly back to the industry structure. Greed, incompetence, fundamental flaws.
How so? What are the mechanics of that?
Well, first, consolidation. Just 3 huge labels. Universal, Sony, Warner control something like 2/3 of the U.S. market.
That's massive concentration.
Huge. And the argument is, this makes them focus mostly on proven megastars, and everything else kind of gets homogenized. Less room for unique stuff.
And that control probably extends beyond just recording, right? Like concerts and promotion.
Absolutely. It can stifle independent artists, smaller venues, if the big players control the pipeline.
It's tough to break through. A bottleneck.
Then there's this issue of payola, not necessarily bags of cash anymore.
The modern version.
Yeah, contemporary payola. Labels, promoters, sort of indirectly paying for radio spins or, crucially now, top spots on streaming playlists.
So playlist placement isn't always purely merit-based.
The argument is that money talks. What you hear most might just be what's best funded, not necessarily what's, best.
And that profit motive then shapes the music itself, these hit factories.
Right. The idea is they recycle formulas, chord progressions, lyrical tropes that worked before. Less innovation, more replication.
A self-feeding cycle of predictability, almost.
Pretty much. And underpinning all this, the streaming economics.
The money side, or lack thereof for artists.
Exactly. The average payout per stream is tiny, like 0.03 to 0.0005, somewhere in that range.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Or fractions of pennies.
Yeah. So the model hugely benefits the labels on the platforms, but most artists, they struggle to make a living wage from streams alone.
Which really brings up questions about sustainability, doesn't it? How we value the creators.
Definitely. You see things like the #BrokenRecord campaign.
Yeah.
Artists pushing for fairer pay.
Like Tom Gray, yeah. They're asking for at least a cent per stream, maybe different payment models entirely.
Like user-centric, where your subscription money goes more directly to who you actually listen to.
Right, which could be fairer.
Okay, so massive flood of music, often simpler, louder, driven by a consolidated, profit-focused industry.
Yeah.
What does this do to us, the listeners?
Well, the argument continues that this constant barrage of similar stuff, filtered by algorithms aiming for engagement, not necessarily discovery.
It limits what we hear.
It starves us of diversity, in a way. And linking back to that decline in complexity, it potentially makes it harder to cultivate, let's say, good taste. If everything starts to sound kind of bland or predictable.
We could get used to it.
We might get accustomed to it, yeah. And maybe our appreciation for more nuanced or challenging work could, fade a bit.
Okay, that's a fairly damning picture of the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
So where does AI fit into this potential positive demise?
The parallel drawn in the source material is with Napster. Remember Napster?
Oh, yeah. Huge disruption.
Huge. The idea is AI could similarly shake up, maybe even dismantle, the current gatekeeper system in the music industry.
How, though? By creating music itself?
Partly, yes. And what's interesting is the argument that the industry's own focus on formulas, on easily replicable sounds to maximize profit, might be its Achilles heel.
Because AI is good at replicating patterns.
Exactly. If the goal is mass-produced formulaic content, AI could automate that on an unprecedented scale, potentially pushing the system to a breaking point. The very thing they chased makes them vulnerable.
But the key takeaway here isn't doom and gloom for music, right?
Not according to this argument. The death of the industry structure could actually clear the way for something new.
Like what?
Like maybe more direct creator-to-fan connections. Think niche communities thriving around specific sounds, genuine artistic experimentation, without needing corporate approval or chasing trends.
A different ecosystem entirely.
Potentially. And artists could then maybe use AI differently too, not just for quantity, but as a creative partner.
To enhance quality.
Yeah, to explore new ideas, push boundaries. It could perhaps lead to a kind of musical renaissance, more discerning, diverse, vibrant music.
So bringing it all together, the source concludes that AI might just accelerate a necessary reckoning.
A reckoning for an industry described as, well, rotten at its core because of greed, laziness, indifference.
Wrong words again.
Very. But the end result, in this view, isn't music's death. It's liberation.
Okay, so let's recap this deep dive for you. The core argument we explored is pretty counterintuitive. The potential collapse of the music industry, maybe sped up by AI, could actually be good for music.
Right. And this perspective comes from looking at how the industry's focus on quantity over quality might have negatively impacted music and, well, our tastes.
Key takeaways from the sources. This overwhelming flood of daily tracks.
The 120,000 a day.
A measurable drop in melodic complexity and dynamic range in popular music.
The simplification and the loudness.
Industry consolidation, this idea of modern payola influencing playlists and streaming economics that don't really support most artists.
All presented as symptoms of a system that maybe lost its way, focusing more on profit than art.
So it leaves you with a provocative thought to chew on.
What would a truly liberated music scene look like? Free from those old industry constraints? And how could AI fit in not just as a disruptor, but maybe as a tool for real innovation, helping bring back, perhaps, good taste?
Definitely something to think about regarding your own relationship with music, how you discover it, and what you value.